Welcome. Today we will talk about the division of household labor. We will begin by discussing the question, what is housework? Household labor has usually been conceptualized as the set of unpaid tasks performed to satisfy the needs of family members or to maintain the home and the family's possessions. The definition of housework varies by source, but the most commonly used one is that housework is performed exclusively by couples within their own homes, and that it consists primarily of a set of repetitive physical tasks, including childcare. Routine tasks are often referred to as the stereotypically female tasks. These tasks are ongoing, non-discretionary, and very time-consuming. They include laundry, cooking, cleaning up after meals, and doing the dishes. Stereotypically male tasks are intermittent tasks. These are done only occasionally and are more flexible and less time-consuming. They include household repairs, car maintenance, and yard work. The results have shown that women are responsible for the bulk of household labor, even when the conceptualization incorporates intermittent tasks. This graph shows the differences in paid work, domestic work, and childcare between parents and non-parents. A wider gender division of labor in households with children than those without can be observed, as women contribute even more when a child is part of the household. So, how do we actually come up with all of this data? Two types of data are questionnaire-based self-reported data and time diary data. In questionnaires, respondents are asked to answer direct questions about how housework is performed in their individual household. In time diary surveys, respondents are asked to report all of their daily activities using a structured diary format. Time spent on housework is then classified into a number of categories. Comparisons of estimates derived using these methods reveal that hours spent on household labor tend to be much higher using the questionnaire-based methods than the time diary methods. This can probably be explained by the fact that respondents answering survey questions can double count the time spent in simultaneous activities. With time diaries, however, respondents report only their primary activities, and as a result, housework that is completed simultaneously with other tasks might not be accounted for. For these reasons, only looking at the hourly contribution to housework as shown here does not provide us with a complete picture regarding the division of household labor. The extent to which domestic tasks are segregated by gender should also be considered. Research shows that men should reallocate more than 60% of their household work in order to obtain sex equality. Women's employment is also found to decrease the sex segregation in households. Let's now move on to a discussion of historical developments. Industrialization and technological innovations affected the distribution of housework. For example, mass production and labor-saving devices increased the goods available on the market and decreased the amount of time women had to spend producing these goods in-house. This, however, created new household tasks for women to fulfill, such as tub and toilet cleaning. Let's now take a look at some trends, starting with OECD countries. While women have traditionally been responsible for housework and caring, they have become increasingly active in the paid labor market over the past few decades and have decreased their unpaid working time. From a cross-country perspective, there is a strong negative correlation between a country's female employment rate and women's average unpaid working time. Part of the slack in unpaid working time is taken up by men, as shown by the positive correlation between a country's female employment rate and men's average unpaid working time. As shown in this next figure, the gender difference in total working time, the sum of paid and unpaid work, is close to or below zero for countries with relatively high female employment. This means that the longer hours spent on housework and caring by women are resulting in shorter hours in paid work. Recent studies suggest that government policies such as working time regulations, family policies, and gender equality initiatives can influence women's role as the caregiver and therefore counter the egalitarian trend in the division of housework. Let's now take a closer look at the United States of America. It is found that the overall time spent on domestic tasks has declined since the 1960s. This could be a result of the increase in the service economy, which includes taking out meals instead of cooking or bringing in a housekeeping staff service. Standards may have also changed, including the devaluing of housework. This means, for instance, that chores such as ironing have become less important in the grand scheme of American society. Even though there has been an overall decline in the amount of housework completed, men have contributed more to housework between the 1960s and the 1990s. With this said, this slight convergence is primarily due to women spending dramatically less time doing housework The reasons for this shift in the gender division of household labor has more to do with time availability and relative resources than gender perspectives. Now, some studies show that this time spent on housework has a direct negative effect on women's earnings, although this is rarely the case for men. Also, differences in investments in human capital gained through things like education arise as women's time spent on housework reduces the energy they have to expend at paid work, and they are expected to spend less time in paid work as a result. Two theoretical explanations of gender differences in time use are the economic perspective and the gender perspective. The economic bargaining perspective emphasizes that because of the increases in women's education, employment, and earnings, they have strengthened their bargaining power, which should result in an increase in men's unpaid work time. The gender perspective instead emphasizes the resiliency of gender inequality and elements that work against the change in the gender division of labor. The devaluation of domestic labor is built into norms of appropriate femininity and masculinity, meaning it is more appropriate for women to adopt masculine behaviors such as doing paid work than it is for men to adopt feminine behaviors such as doing unpaid work. So, while demographics, economics, and social norms are changing, the recreation of gender inequality continues to be a fundamental product of gender time allocations. Both of these theoretical perspectives find support in empirical literature. While women have increased their hours of paid employment, men still spend more hours in paid work than women. In contrast, the literature on trends in time use suggests that women and men have altered time use patterns such that gender differences in work allocations have narrowed. Now, we have taken you through some aspects of the trends of the gender division of labor in the household. The question that still needs to be answered is what the future holds. So, what do you think?